But we expected from the non-founders, our satellite books, or looking at
the one done by the artists who weren't the actual founders of Image, Jerry Ordway,
everyone who's
Mike Rowe.
Okay. What we expected was, we started out a company and we took on all the responsibilities. Whether that was right or wrong, that was a lot for us to handle. That our books started coming out late and that people were going off in different directions was just part of the process. Some of us reacted a little bit better than others, but for the most part we all had trouble. What we expected when we hired these people was that they would come in there and be the anchors, because nobody was putting down any anchors for the company. We were floating around. We were putting out a mini-series here, we were putting some out there, trying to feel our way around. We knew that we couldn't do it at that point because we were trying to handle the whole publishing, printing, advertising, and everything else. So we then said we have to bring in a couple books that will then anchor us down and at least be our quote-unquote Iron Mans, Captain Americas, and Thors. What we wanted from them was not just good-looking books. What we wanted from them was on-time books, because, as we told them, we turn out, I feel, some of the best late books in the business. So we don't need any more good-looking late books. We do plenty of those books. We expected on-time performance from them, and we expected a certain sales level, and from non-founder books, because unfortunately, can Todd McFarlane still sell 5,000 and not get fired? Yes. You know why? Because unfortunately, Peter, in most businesses, the bosses can't get fired. We own the company, we can't fire ourselves. We've now just recently put in rules where we can fire ourselves, so so they call because we now feel that it's somewhat hypocritical that we should be attentive, but there are different rules to us. That they also have a bad attitude. I don't care if they got a bad attitude and they sell 1 million comic books. I will not put up with a guy out there who's using our name, using our reputation, as good or bad as it is, and sitting there saying that we're going to take your cash, we're going to take everything you've done, you guys stuck out your neck, but we're not going to perform. We're going to promise you a monthly book, but we're not going to do it. We're going to promise you this, and we're not going to do it. We had to lay some ground rules, and the people who didn't fit in those ground rules, unfortunately, got the axe. I'm sorry. They didn't follow the rules. They got the axe.
You've said that a number of times in past meetings, that you did this and you produce late books and that's, easy, So why do you need these guys to do it for? The thing that you are missing, Todd, is that you sent a message, a signal, a sign to fellow creators in the industry. What you said to them was, at Image Comics, we will take our time to get the books right. That was the message that you sent to them. Doesn't matter at this point whether late books are good or bad. No one is going to say late books are good. But you have to take responsibility for having sent that message out to the creators. And they came to Image believing that they were going to get the same kind of equal treatment that they were going to be promised by you guys. They thought that your respect column applied to them, and it didn't. You didn't just fire them, Todd. You betrayed them.
Peter, I see it, but you're not there, so and that's your opinion, and I appreciate that. But I see it quite the opposite. We put the word out that we wanted people to come. The people who said, Todd, we want to do a mini-series and it'll take us 90 days between each issue, A, we said, yeah, good, you got 90 days, we'll hold it back, or B, we go, no, 90 days isn't good enough, we want to try to get monthly. So the people whose stuff that we accepted didn't come to us saying, Todd, we just want to put out a book, let us print it. They came up to us promising that they would turn out regular monthly books. That's the promise they made to us. Once they made that promise to us, we told them, even because we are pretty tough guys, that between monthly books, you have 42 days between monthly books to get into the next issue. So we gave them 6 weeks to hand in a monthly book. Again, all of them failed to do that. Did we do that? Yes. Like I said, we just laid in rules to be able to start the fire up. But they were the first ones that came to us and said, we will give you a monthly book. We will do this. Let us join. And when we let them join, they were the ones who betrayed us because they didn't come and give us what we contracted out to them to do, which was a book and a book on a monthly basis. And when they didn't give it to us and they went past the 42 days, we got rid of them. I don't see that as betrayal. I see that they promised us something and they didn't deliver.
This question is addressed for Mr. McFarlane, Mr. David. I have to alter it a little here because otherwise it's going to be a little hard to get out. This is from you to Mr. David. In your personal opinion, since we are talking opinion, what do you consider good writing, and specifically, what falls under the criteria you find with Todd McFarlane's writing?
Well, let's see. I'm not quite sure what the hell this remotely has to do with whether images could receive fair treatment or not, but since you asked, I don't generally read sport. Now, you will notice that never in my columns have I criticized sport. I think that Todd's writing, based on what he did in Spider-Man, was fairly poor. I base that on several combinations of structure and characterization. If I'm really going to talk about writing, I do seminars that run about 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4 minutes is not going to cover it. What I would like to see in Todd's work, should I ever really sit down and read it again, is story structure, having to do with first and second act turning point, having hills and valleys, and building ideally to a climax, or the concept of what anticlimax is like. I'd like to see characters that ring true, that build from some sort of essential core, that relate to the real world, that relate to me, that I care about. Now, unfortunately, I'm not Todd's target audience, because Todd's target audience is 12 to 14-year-olds. This is not a slam, this is what he said, and that's fine. Anybody can write to a particular target audience. However, I think even 12 to 14-year-olds certainly have a right to well-constructed stories. I really don't want to stand here and describe the Peter David way of writing. I certainly would like to see more of a sense of humor. I would like to see a sense of things being thought out properly. Things never seem to be, really, in a lot of comic books, thought out. It really puts me in the mind of a book that Scott McCloud did some years back called Destroy. How many people remember that one? Now, Destroy was this great big book involving a great big character who smashes everything in sight until the book ends. When it first came out, this was funny. Now it's typical. Everyone's like, ooh. No, that's not particularly aimed just at image. That is aimed at the vast majority of the stuff that we see coming out. Quality storylines that really hang together, have a beginning, middle, and end, are too few and far between. It can be done. The Superman line has certainly proven that. It can be done. I would just like to see it done a little bit more. I'd like to see more thought and more intelligence put into things. That's pretty much it. I have 10 seconds. Yes. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this also. And read. I see people who say that they want to be writers and they don't read. I'm not just talking about reading comic books. I'm talking about reading books, novels, histories, mythologies, biographies, things to be drawn from the real world. That's at least how I would do it, because once you bring that real world feeling to a comic book, it then rings true to the reader and makes him more involved in what's going on. It feels right.
Okay, Pete, I'm going to do all that, and then we'll be going head-to-head in the CBG award for the writers. Thanks, you just gave it to me. That's all the writing part that I do, again, like I said, is it was a trial period for me to do. Now, I guess it can be argued, and I've heard it stated by you before, that if you were to become an artist, you'd probably have to hand in art samples. It only follows logic then, as a writer, you should hand in writing samples. I ended up building a bit of a reputation with my editor, Jim Salkrep, on Spider-Man. And through the years that I spent with him, and discussing ideas back and forth, he was willing to give me a chance to try and prove whether I could do something. That it wasn't so much that I thought that I could write the books per se, but it was that I wanted to visually draw the stories that I had in my head. Now, we did go back and forth saying, well, Todd, why don't you just plot them, and why don't we get a scripter in there? We thought about that long and hard, and for a short time there was actually going to be a scripter on the Spider-Man stuff. The only reason we didn't go to it was, again, because knowing my idiosyncrasies, I knew that after 5 or 6 months, I was going to get frustrated again. Whether that was the writer's fault or that was my fault, I would sit there and go, I would have put this, I would have put that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So Jim and I then came to the conclusion the best thing to do was cut out the middle step. He gave me a ball and he said, here it is, go play with it, and I hope that you bounce it the right way. I tried at the beginning, and yes, it was a week after from the very beginning, but I think that again, maybe you should go and read some of the comic books that I've done. I don't think that the opinion you've probably heard from the peers that it's actually the worst comic book out there. I don't think it's the best, but I think it's someplace in between. If you guys was to give me a little bit of insight, instead of just saying, Todd, why don't you do this, why don't you do that, I'm always open, but one of the things that never happened at Marvel or from any of my peers isn't, Todd, as a writer, why don't I give you some advice? Me as an artist, when I have people coming up to me, showing me the portfolios, I'm always giving artistic opinions. I'm always trying to help people on how to do something and giving them opinions. I get to have the writer come up to me, though, and say, Todd, as a friend to you, let me see if we can't correct some of this. Some of the writers I work with on the Spawn, luckily have done that, and I'm hoping to improve on those. Thank you.
Well, Todd, considering that in several times, in several different places, you've said repeatedly that you don't want people telling you what to do. Now, I don't know if that was the ghost Todd or the real Todd or the Swiss Todd or whatever it is we're dealing with. But the problem is that what you have gone on record is saying is I didn't let a little thing like not being able to write stop me. Now, this doesn't set up a tremendous venue in terms of an exchange of ideas. You have said repeatedly that that's not the help you want. As a matter of fact, you said that after 3 issues of Spawn, your wife quit as editor because you wouldn't listen to what she said. If you really will take what I have to say more strongly than my wife, I think we have a slight problem.
If you read the column and you read my opinions on why I quit Marvel Comics, I'm going to tell you guys right here, because again, obviously you missed the point. It wasn't money. As a creative person, you want to create. You want to do comic books, and you see them in a vision of your own. When you start to get people around you all of a sudden saying, Todd, here, or Bill here, or John here, here's a book, it's not selling very well, go and do whatever you want, there's minimal amount of interference on that book. Because as creative people, we like to take an underdog approach. So we take a book, and as we build the momentum on the book, at some point, the companies jump on and want to start guiding that train. It was only going 5 miles an hour when you jumped on it. They didn't care about it. But as soon as you get it going up to 100 miles an hour, all of a sudden they want to become the conductor. That's why I ended up quitting. The Spider-Man, the popularity of Spider-Man became the status quo. Don't mess with it. You can't do this with it. You might offend people. Your audience is so big now, Todd, that you might say something wrong, so that all of a sudden now I have to be guilty of my success. The people who are coming to Image comic books, I can guarantee it to the person that Jerry Ordway, I've never had one conversation with the man to tell him anything about how to do his work. We said, here's your deadline, here's the book, here's where the printers have got to be, we got to get the book. I've never given him one word to say, this is how you have to draw, this is how you have to fit into Image, this is how you have to do that. Al Gordon, not one. Bill Loebs, not one. Sam Keith, not one. What we have given, not a haven to run helter-skelter on deadline, but a haven for those who will play and have a bit of an attitude and have a good attitude about it, is a haven to create as you see fit completely from beginning to end on that book that fits in the image universe and is a book that we don't have a problem with, and we're never going to tell you, Peter, if you do a book for image, how to do anything on your book other than to get it in on time.
What is really kind of unfortunate, in my opinion, about the way that image is set up is that you've totally dismissed the notion that perhaps an outside eye or another opinion can sometimes improve a book. Not always. It's a system that cuts both ways. Sometimes it can hurt a book as well. But a certain amount is owed to the readers to try and get the best product out there possible. Now the problem is that you can say as much as you want, oh well, we won't tell people how to do their book. That's great. That's fine. Well, sometimes they might need the help, but even so, if they don't, that's fine too. They should be allowed to do whatever they want within limits. And apparently the limits that you have set is within the confines of the image universe. And I'm sorry, I find that to be slightly contradictory. That if you're going to say to someone, you can do whatever you want, then let them do whatever they want. If you're going to say, you can do whatever you want within the confines of the image universe, you're not allowing them the freedom that they are entitled to as a creator. You can't have it both ways.
Peter, we never asked for it to be both ways, but we've opened up the door. Even Mr. Perez here, we made the offer to him long ago, and one of his reasons for not joining Image was he wanted to be able to blow up the planet. Nobody has come up to us. We want to be able to blow up the planet but not kill our guys. So he would and our response back then was the same that it is ultimately. You can blow up the planet. Legends is now doing that. You can have your own little universe. What we're looking for is at the emblem up in the corner. What ended up happening wasn't so much that people were going, I want to play in my own universe, and now all of a sudden we're saying, no, you got to play in the universe. They came to us specifically saying, we will do a monthly book, and we want to interact with Wildcats. We want to interact with Spawn. We want to interact with this stuff. Getting into the book, all of a sudden they started going into a different direction. And actually, it wasn't even so much the content, again, Peter. It came down to the promises they made to us of bringing an anchor to us and giving us some stability that they reneged on.
Thank you.
Saxon Violence #2 is going to be a couple of weeks later. Now, George and I signed a contract with Marvel Comics and Image. They could take us to the cleaners. They could cancel the book. They could demand money back. They could do all kinds of horrible things to us. And instead, what Marie Jadens said to us was, look, just get the book out as soon as you can. We believe in the quality of the book, and we want to see the best job possible. And if it takes an additional week or 2 or 3, get it done and have it come out when it's ready. That is the cherished respect for freelancers that Todd McFarlane put forward so many months ago in CBG, and which to a very large extent Image has not been able to really live up to. They may have set goals that were too high for themselves. That's not a crime. There's no crime in that. What is a crime is to state that I have been putting forward lies and rumors about them, and when asked point blank to name one, ultimately Todd couldn't. That is what you should be concentrating on here today. That the reason for this debate is a non-existent one. There is no reason for everyone to be here. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad that you've enjoyed it. But I, personally, don't like having my veracity put on the line, in print, and then when asked to present any serious challenge to it, we get nothing. Nothing. I personally am just a touch offended by that.
Okay, using the Lenny Dykstra. Okay, we'll be Lenny Dykstra. Yeah, we swing the ball in the dirt. But the point is that at least we got to the point where we're in the playoffs. Now, I find that what happened was when I first started to think about Image Comics with Rob Liefeld and Eric Larson, we were the three spearheads. My idea was that we wanted to have a union. I just felt that the working conditions in terms of both pay, the way that we were given information to the companies, the way that they asked for information from us was not right. When we went into the office with Terry Stewart that fateful day in December to quit, his opinion and his quote to us was, "It's an entertainment business and this is how it's always been. We exploit you and it will always be that we will exploit you." And for Tom DeFalco, well, it was good enough for me, why shouldn't it be good enough for you? Using that mentality, folks, we would still have people of the black persuasion in the back of a bus. You know why? Because it would have been easy for us to say, that's the way it is, that's the way it's going to always be. Well, I'm here to say that that's wrong. That we can do things and justify them on a business means is completely wrong. That we now exist and we are open now to criticism. We're open up to criticism first and foremost, that we should at least have an acknowledgement that we even exist. That there's the respect now that they get to hand out their books 2 weeks late, I feel in some small way is because of the response of the other companies, Defiant and Valiant and Image Comics and Legend and Dark Horse, that have now come out and the Ultraverse and have now grown into this thing saying that the creative people can now take back what is now rightfully theirs. As far as some of the opinions that I give and proven your lies, Peter, in your CPGs, I don't carry those CPG columns with, I don't carry those CPG columns with you. That I'm afraid and shun down on people who give their opinions and won't sign their names to it. If you'd made a phone call, you would see that I now have a column in The Wizard that's an opinion column, not unlike your own. So that thing that you say that I dislike so much has now become something that I now do. So once again, you jumped the gun without checking the facts of telling me, Todd, this is what you do, without ever checking exactly what it is that Todd McFarlane does. As far as Image comic books, from the union point of view, you know what, folks? The creative people we found out didn't want to be saved. They were afraid. They believed the lie. They were brainwashed. Come on, you can come out. You can come out of the game and survive. No, we don't want to come. We don't want to do it. We want you guys to go out there, stick your necks out, do it, see if you can survive, see if you get chopped or you just get mildly bloody, and then if you guys still survive, we would then love to come and join you. Well, you know what? We're having a good time right now, and we're not inclined now to slow down to those guys that didn't have the guts to come out there and join us. Some of the fringe players like the Alan Moores and the Frank Millers that have always been fighting for those rights, we have a good time, and we see on the same level of trying to expand the market in terms of books like The Legend and having books that have their own copyright. And from that point of view, we have to acknowledge that the mere existence of our company now, Peter, has done the creative company that seems to hate us more than anybody a little bit of good in the free agent market. Thank you.